expo to page 220. We have some information about theme. What I want you to do is read both pages 220 and 221. Learn or reminded some information about theme, um, and also we're given a little practice reading about King Midas, and then on page 221, you have two questions to answer about theme, sort of get us ready for what we're doing today with theme and the story we're about to read. So let's do that first. Um, go ahead and pause the video here so that you can do that, and then you can start up through this, you might also want to consider some of the themes we saw in the Wizard of Oz presentation. You might want to look through your notes to remind yourself of some of those, so that we just have another set of examples to work with. Again, you can pause the video here briefly to look through the literary focus section on 226 before we move forward. All right, just to make it clear, of course, we have two pictures here to the right. We have a picture of a young man getting a into an actual lesson on life. Once you've done that, I want you to think about whether or not you found a theme or subject that you can personally relate to. So, for example, if we're going to go back to friendship, as in the Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy really needs friends to help her complete the task. Is this something you can relate to? Have you ever needed friends to help you uh, complete a task? Think about that. Um, Also, can you think of other stories that also use the same or similar subjects and themes? So, going back to
shapes China's culture, its history, its soul, its passion for deprivation.
food tradition. So I'm just going to mix that up here. We have mortified means ashamed or deeply embarrassed. So there's someone here who looks ashamed or embarrassed. Well, we've got two faces, and one may look sort of shocked. The girl may look so shocked. But this little yellow looking guy over here is looking pretty embarrassed. So I'm going to go with yellow dude down here. So we'll just draw an arrow to him. And then spectacle means a remarkable sight. So see a picture of someone here who's being encountering a remarkable sight or spectacle. Yeah, kind of thick in this girl right here is looking pretty surprised when she's come across here. So let's go with this pen. So we'll just call this spectacle. And then etiquette. Well, of course, we only have one left, but etiquette become up with the subjects of your sentences, but who will be tested on these vocabulary words amongst others. So let's go ahead and take some time to practice that. You can pause the video here to write your four sentences, and then we can move on. Okay, so now it's time to read. You'll need to complete all reading in your literature textbook from pages 2 27 to 235. Not too bad, and even better, you have a week to do this. I also want you to answer the questions 1 through 4 on that's on I didn't put the page number there. The questions are on page 2, 36. That's terrible. Answer